Dave Smith, good to see you, bro.
Yeah, dude. You too, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we met up around this time last year.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's funny that we set this up like really quickly and they snuck in a regime change war in between when you said it's 48 hours we planned this and they fit a whole regime change in that 48 hours.
Well, it's good to know that they're making them faster.
Here we are.
And it's happened, man. The crazy, they had the photo came out of Maduro and his wife. I guess they picked him up.
Well, the
U.S. plans to run Venezuela and tap its oil reserves, Trump says, after operation to oust Maduro. What were the actual hours after an audacious military operation that plucked leader Nicolas Maduro from power and removed him from the country? President Donald Trump said Saturday the United States would run Venezuela at least temporarily and tap its vast oil reserves to sell to other nations.
Well, at least they're being honest about that part.
Yeah, it makes you wonder kind of what's going on. What were the exact attacks that happened? Does it say? Like, did we go kill a bunch of people?
Yeah, we definitely killed some people. There were a bunch of attacks, and then there was like an elite team that went and got, that was able to kidnap Maduro. And I know, so Mike Lee, the senator, posted on Twitter that he had spoke to Marco Rubio and that Marco Rubio had said something like the other attacks were like in service of the mission to get Maduro. So like, I don't know what the, taking out their defenses or something like that. But so, I mean, I don't know even where to start here, right? But so there's a lot, there's been obviously for months now, there's been like they've been bombing the boats that they're claiming are drug boats, but they haven't really demonstrated that they are. It's kind of just taking their word for it.
Right, and we don't know. You just see this video, you see this footage of like a black and white, and then like a zooming in of a night goggles explosion.
And there was that whole controversial double tap strike where they came back to kill the survivors, which there was a big controversy about, because that's illegal under international law. You'd have to demonstrate that they were like still in the fight. And then there was, I guess Pete Hegseth had said someone else made the decision, but then they claimed that they were still trying to get in the fight. It's all kind of sketchy. It's not exactly clear. Marco Rubio, who's the Secretary of State and also the National Security Advisor, and he's had that position for most of the last year. This has been his pet project for a while. He's really wanted to get rid of the Maduro regime in Venezuela. The drugs thing has always just been an obvious bullshit pretext. I mean, like there's no—
That's what it feels like to me.
Well, if you just look at the numbers, the Venezuela is responsible for like a tiny fraction of the drugs that come into America and like almost none of the fentanyl. And if you really had when people look at like the OD deaths, the fentanyl is really where the action is there. And that's all from Mexico. From parts made in China. Then even when like Donald Trump or Vivek Ramaswamy or some of these guys would have real tough language about the drug cartels on the campaign trail, it was always the Mexican drug cartels. Right. They were always saying that because they could at least point to that and say, look, that leads to fentanyl, which leads to all these overdoses. Now, those numbers have been going down and getting better, but I think some people, people I love, but some people have falsely like attributed that to the attacks on these boats off the coast of Venezuela, when really all that is that there's a secure border now. And so less of the stuff is getting in than was under Joe Biden.
Oh, for sure.
But so then cut to, what was it, last week, it got—
well, I want to bring this up real quick.
Sure. Go ahead.
Venezuela is involved in trafficking cocaine, but current data shows it is responsible for only a small share of the drugs that actually end up in the U.S. market, especially compared with routes through Mexico and Central America. The U.S. government classifies Venezuela as a major drug transit country, mainly for Colombia cocaine moving towards the Caribbean, Central America.
But even that would be more of a justification to deal with Colombia.
Right.
Than it would be to deal with Venezuela.
A DEA fact sheet cited in 2025 reporting says 90% of cocaine reaching the U.S. is produced in Colombia and enters through Mexico, without even mentioning Venezuela as a primary corridor. Yeah, and there's some other reasons I want to go into too, why people think that what we're doing down there. But yeah, I just wanted to get some of the stats.
Sure. No, that's important. I'm glad you did.
Where were you?
Well, so last week, if you remember, Tucker Carlson had said that he had a source saying that Donald Trump was addressing the nation that night, and he had said that Donald Trump's going to announce, an escalation in the war or a declaration of war, which, technically the president can't do, but I guess we're way past that.
Yeah.
That he was going to announce that he was going in there. And I had a couple people I know who were like close to it who said the same thing. And then he didn't. which was kind of strange. And he also like he interrupted your regularly scheduled programming. Like it was a presidential address to the nation. Television? Yeah, a week ago, but then like didn't really announce anything.
I didn't see
just
that.
Announced how great the economy was or something like that. And so then it came this week instead. But this was, look, it's an unbelievably successful operation as of right now. And so that's, well, maybe I got that wrong. I said last week. I guess it was a couple weeks ago.
On the evening of December 16th, political commentator Tucker Carlson set off a firestorm when he claimed that President Donald Trump was poised to announce U.S. military invasion of Venezuela during his primetime address. But as the hour came and went, no such announcement materialized. President Trump made no mention of Venezuela nor of any military operation targeting the embattled South American nation. What if he did that because he didn't want Carlson to actually have called it? No, it wouldn't have been that.
You know, I don't know. I mean, it's like, I don't know. It's possible that he was planning on doing it and then backed out of it. It's possible Tucker got bad information. It's possible that plans just changed or whatever, you know, but the thing did come a couple weeks later. So it does at least seem like there was something that might've been, you know, accurate about it. But look, I mean, I guess first and foremost, this really was an incredible success just in terms of a military operation. Like,
I was shocked. They got
me too.
Got it done, and then they checkmated. They took the king and queen.
Dude, there's well, that's right. I mean, and okay, so this picture now,
and now it looks like he's playing one of those games where those things drop and you have to catch them or whatever.
Like Ilya Taporia would be like real good at it. You're like, whoa, that's how he knocks people out like that. He's got crazy speed. Yeah. If that's all he was doing.
But it's just, this is so, because I first saw this morning, I was like, who is this? I thought it was like one of those, like the Masked Singer or whatever they were doing, like at the military or whatever. I was like, who is this? I couldn't even figure out because I just saw the image. Well, and then I realized, oh my God, that's Maduro.
So evidently the vice president was in Russia at the time, and the vice president demanded proof that Maduro's alive. And then Trump tweeted this out. So not clear whether it's like in response to that, like here's the proof that he's alive, but it does seem like they have him and his wife. And I just say like the success of the military operation, like I know there's, you know, there's been all types like historically of attempts by the US and the CIA to kill, you know, Saddam Hussein or to kill Castro or all types of other leaders. And they have succeeded in some. Noriega, they got him and whatever. But like there's been attempts to like kill or capture all types of leaders. But for it to happen like this, like in one day, in one attack, go in and get him. I mean, we even in 2003, I think we were in Iraq for a couple months before we got Saddam Hussein, you know? So they got him. Okay. But one of the things that's so fascinating is like, it's almost like the last 25 years don't exist. When you go on, like I go on social media today and you just see all the war hawks all got their mission accomplished signs up. Right. Like they're all celebrating like, look, we got them, when really getting them, I mean, look, it's impressive they did it in one day without like a lot of boots on the ground. You know, we got a real badass military, if people haven't noticed, like the most badass group of fighting men that have ever been assembled in human history. But we know we can kill these guys. Like we know we could kill Saddam Hussein. We know we could kill Muammar Gaddafi or Gaddafi or Bashar al-Assad. We could get him out of power. It's like the question is what comes next? That's always the question. Right. And that's the question that DC has always gotten wrong, you know, for 25 straight years. So like to see them celebrating when there's not even... We have no idea what the hell is going to come next now. And it's not even a situation like Iraq or Afghanistan where we were militarily occupying the country. So it's a lot easier to direct who comes next when your troops are on there. We don't even have that right now. Trump just said...
He's going to run it.
He said, we're going to run it, and then we'll decide who to hand it off to. Well, that's fucking vague. I mean, all right, like what? And since when, you know, I listened with a force of like over 100,000 troops, substantially more than that, over 200,000 at one point. I listened to for 20 straight years, every war hawk in this country lie through their fucking teeth about how capable this Afghan government that we had just built up there was. And how, no, I'm not saying Venezuela and Afghanistan are the exact same thing, but I'm just saying like that was with a 20-year military occupation and all this backing and hundreds of billions of dollars of weapons. It fell apart in 2 days, you know? So like the idea
they were on the
that
monkey bars, remember all that shit?
Oh yeah. Like there, and
They'd send that out. They were doing like those tire drills.
Our guys lost to that.
Yeah, dude, they were doing those like running through the tires, like get your knees up type of shit. Like
they were like, huh? We fucking kind of nailed it there, didn't we?
They had PE teachers over there, it was unbelievable.
And so anyway, I guess they're just like the hubris of just being like, like, look, I said people were kind of giving me shit. Some of the anti-war people actually were kind of giving me shit today because I posted something on Twitter where I was like, well, I hope this works well. But like I hope it works out well. Like I would take it working out real well and then, okay, that doesn't look as good for the non-interventionist types like me. Like, see, this one worked. Well, okay, it's already done now. So like, I hope it works out. But to watch people celebrating as if it's a given that it's gonna work out. It's like, dude, so and by the way, we didn't, at least as of now, Donald Trump kind of like diminished the opposition leader and is at least floating out the idea that the vice president can like kind of maintain a transitional control. So we haven't
in Venezuela.
We haven't even overthrown the communists or anything like that yet. And the idea that
right. So what exactly is being done? That's the biggest question. Right? Because he was arrested on narco terrorism. That's Del C.
And gun charges. And evidently, U.S. gun control covers Venezuela now.
There's a couple of theories of why we're even doing this, right? One of the reasons is because there's certain countries that are outside of like our kind of comfort grid, right? And there's certain countries that are outside of our banking system. Right? And Venezuela is one of those.
Yep.
And so, and they also control a lot of oil.
Well, so in a weird way, like one of the things I like to do with these wars is like you can kind of peel away the excuses. So, so when people say, oh, we're fighting the war in Iraq to spread democracy or something like that. And then you could go, okay, so we're close allies with Saudi Arabia and the UAE and like all these other countries. But we have an issue about democracy. Sorry, that's bullshit. Because if it was, or then they'll say like, oh, we have to support Ukraine because of Vladimir Putin's human rights abuses. And you're like, wait, human rights abuses? But you sent $25 billion to Netanyahu in the last 2 years? Like, I don't think human rights abuses is really the issue. And then even they'll say like, well, it's because they're socialists. And it's like, we've been arming the Kurds in Iraq and Syria for decades now. Also socialist. So like, I actually don't think, so it's like, you kind of can peel away some of these bullshit excuses and then go, what's it really about? And I got my best guess on this is that two things I think play huge influence in this. Number one, Donald Trump, who always seems to just see a deal. And that's all, like in his mind, he seems to think
here's an opportunity.
His military's telling him we can take this guy out and put our people in, and then I could get huge oil sales, and then I could turn around and say, look how good this economy is, and we win the midterm elections and whatever. He always has like, I
can sell Trump oil. I can sell like baby oil. From Trump. I can sell, the new gold shoes. Like, remember when the gold shoes came out?
Yeah, he looks at Gaza while the rest of us are all like crying for the baby who's being crushed to death by cement and screaming for his mother who can't come help him because there's no bulldozers in Gaza. We look at that and go, oh my God, the human tragedy. Donald Trump and Jared Kushner see beachfront property. Like that's like where their mind goes.
They're like, God, that baby's ruining this bulldozer's opportunity.
No one's going to want to relax with a Mai Tai with this crying baby.
Dude,
we got to get this baby out of here. See, so they're not like ethnically cleansing because they believe in greater Israel. They want to ethnically cleanse so that rich people can enjoy a sunset on the beach.
There's just always got to be a better place to have a Mai Tai.
Yeah, right. So anyway, but then the other thing, and I do think this is a real part of it, is that Marco Rubio is Cuban. And they're also allied with Cuba. Now, a lot of this stuff with like the allies, it's kind of like if you heard any, like the BRICS agreement stuff that's like really advanced over the last few years.
Is that the stuff with China
and Russia and all them? So like what happens is that if the US is the world empire, the most powerful empire in the history of the world. So if you're on the outs with us, you kind of have no choice other than to make friends with the other people who are on the outs with us, because those are like your only options left. Like, that's actually why Fidel Castro went communist to begin with, because he was enemies with the United States of America. And so what were you going to do?
Right.
You got to ally with the Soviet Union.
You got to have some boys.
Right. It's like going to prison, right? You got to join one gang or the other.
Yeah.
And so a lot of them, they end up having friendly relations. But the belief is, and they've said this quiet part out loud a bunch of times, and I don't know if this is true or not, but they think that the regime in Cuba will fall as a result of this regime being overthrown. And there's a whole bunch of Cubans in America, Marco Rubio being one of them, who understandably really hate socialism in Cuba, but remember it as like a successful country before then, even though I think Rubio was actually ruined before the Castro. His family was like...
Cuba was actually ruined, you mean?
No. I think Marco Rubio, if I'm remembering this correctly, his family got kicked out by like the Batista regime, or they had some beef with them.
But they would...
But they want to overthrow the communists.
Yeah, it's like I want
to
get done what my parents wanted to get done type of energy.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And you know, which is somewhat understandable. I just think like you should be upfront with that and not try to use the U.S. military to like live out your personal fantasy. In a weird way, it's a similar thing with Israel. You know?
Well, it seems like that's a lot of what's going on these days. Yeah, it's like you kind of get Trump in there, and he is a boss. You know what I'm saying? The dude is like you almost want to say merciless. I don't know if that's the word.
Yeah.
I mean, he's him. I mean, he's exactly, I don't even fucking know how to describe him, dude. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's almost like I don't even know how to describe things.
Well, he's
like,
a different kind of person, man, than almost anybody else, for good and for bad.
One of the things you just said though was just about the Venezuela thing. There was another article, a guy was talking about a paper tiger, and it was kind of a challenge to the BRICS countries, like to that outside group. And first I want to get, what is a paper tiger? Hold on. Ask Perplexity, what is a paper tiger?
Well, something that appears to be ferocious, but is really just, you know, like made of paper. Like the idea is that like, oh yeah, you present yourself as strong and powerful, but you're really weak.
It's like a bluff.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, in foreign policy, a paper tiger is a state, alliance, or threat that looks militarily or politically powerful from the outside, but is actually weak, limited, or unwilling to act when challenged.
I always love that, by the way, which is like, if they're a paper tiger, then why the hell we got to fight wars against them then? You know, like essentially, because this is what they always said about Russia. They'd say in one breath, John McCain would say, Russia is just a gas station with nukes. So they would go, all they are is this, you know, they got some gas and they got some nukes, but they got no economy and they got this tiny GDP. And then in the next breath, all the hawks go, if we don't fund Ukraine, they're going to take over Poland and reconstitute the Soviet Union. You're like, well, I thought they were weak.
Yeah.
So like, which one is it? Are they taking over all of Europe or are they not? Because if they're weak, then maybe we don't really need to worry about them.
Yeah, there's a lot of hypocrisy that goes on, you know? I mean, it's constant. This guy had just an interesting take, I thought, just about this stuff, then we can get it out of our systems.
The Venezuelan issue is both a crucial test of paper tiger quality on the part of all the great powers now, China, Russia, and the United States. China knows very well that the fentanyl excuse to stop the alleged fentanyl trade into the United States is used by Trump to mobilize for war against Venezuela, where China is the largest of them international investors. If China and Russia let the US make a regime change, just kill President Maduro and destroy the Venezuelan government and replace it with Mrs. Machado or something else, what's the credibility of the two of the three powers in BRICS to assist anyone, even themselves? That's the paper tiger aspect. If it's the case that neither China nor Russia can deter, nor BRICS, Brazil, India, and the others, Iran, can deter the United States from invading Venezuela and destroying its sovereign government. If they can't, then BRICS is a paper tiger too.
Just kind of interesting.
It is interesting.
Just interesting, all the little things that could be a part of it, right? Because it does just seem kind of confusing. Like most people could not pick out where Venezuela is on a map, right?
Yeah.
Most of us had never even thought of Maduro or heard of him before, probably within the past month, right? Unless you, like, you know, I mean, he's had a very interesting stories, like coming up as a bus driver and being like a man of the people and everything, but then seemingly getting compromised and like overwhelmed by wealth and power over time.
A good friend of mine who I love and really, really respect, who I think is brilliant, Daryl Cooper, And he was saying on Twitter today that like, he goes, dude, it's not even it's pointless to make the argument that this war in Venezuela was unconstitutional. You know, he goes, it's a pointless argument to make because we've shredded the Constitution years ago and we've already accepted that presidents have these war powers. And so like, I mean, I don't want to mischaracterize what he was saying, but I think it was essentially something like that. Like the argument just rings hollow. But I just kind of respectfully disagree, where I'm like, no, man, like we either have the Constitution or we don't. And it's a whole lot better to have it. And could anyone read the Constitution and actually, this is where he said, stop whining about the action in Venezuela being
unjustified
or unconstitutional.
Or whatever. You look weak and might as well be complaining that it doesn't follow Hammurabi's code. Trump knows that American leaders are judged by whether they win or lose, nothing else.
Now, look, he's right about that to an extent, right? Like, if Venezuela turns around tomorrow and is a bastion of freedom or something like that, then that's a huge win for Donald Trump, and he's going to be able to brag, and people will go, oh, Dave, you care about morality and the Constitution, but this worked. So, like, he's right about that. But the point is that it's like, dude, if you just, like, the Constitution claims to be the law of the land. The Constitution is what created this government. So if you're going to accept that they don't have to live under that own Constitution, which they put a hand on the Bible and a hand in the air and swear, our politicians, Donald Trump, if the political class who swears to God in front of all of us that they will uphold and defend this document. Like, I'm not arguing any of us are bound by the Constitution, but they are. They swore an oath to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they went into politics. That's their...
Yes, their obligation in front of their nation and in front of God was to defend and protect the Constitution. And you can't tell me, dude, that it's constitutional for a country that clearly poses no threat to us, even if the drug accusations were true. It's not like an immediate, it's not there's nuclear missiles lined up on Cuba and the president has to take action. It's you had all the time in the world to come to Congress to have a debate about this and for our elected representative government to, you know, like vote how they feel about the war, make their arguments to their kids. But if you're telling me that the legal justification that they're going with is that he's not the president. That's what Marco Rubio said. No, we didn't get the president of Venezuela. We just got some drug dealer. He's just a gangster. He's not the president. That was Marco Rubio tweeted today. That's the, like, dude, come on. This is so illegal. This is so unconstitutional. And if you're just going to sit back and allow a government to be that, like, okay, well, that government who can violate the Constitution against Venezuela is powerful enough to violate every American citizen's rights as well.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like you have to, if you stand up for it, you have to stand up for it, you know?
That's right.
And also, one thing that was interesting was whenever Ken Burns was here, we talked about the Declaration of this is Secretary Marco Rubio right here. It says, Maduro is not the president of Venezuela and his regime is not the legitimate government. Maduro is the head of the Cartel de los Soles, a narco-terror organization which has taken possession of a country, and he is under indictment for pushing drugs into the United States. Who's he? He's being indicted by us. But what proof do we have that he is the head of the Cartel de los Soles?
Zero has been offered. Zero's been offered. It's not even clear the thing exists.
Yeah, I was looking forward to it.
Seems to be like some low-level mid-network thing. It's all bullshit. And look, like what they could say, which might be true. I'm actually not sure, but this might be true. But they'll be like, he lost the election or the election was illegitimate or something like that. It's like, yeah, like I referred to them on Twitter as a sovereign nation and a bunch of people were saying that, oh, they're not a sovereign nation. But it's like, listen, man, first of all, we do business with dozens of countries that just don't have elections, like that just aren't democracies at all. And also, you're saying the last election was bullshit. Isn't that what Trump said about us? Like, is that so?
Right.
So by your logic, could anyone just come in and depose the Biden? Like even right-winger Trump supporter who believes the 2020 election was stolen. Do you really believe that China or Russia could have come into America 2 years ago and just kidnapped Joe Biden? Like you would have no problem with that? I think you'd right away be like, no, motherfucker. We will decide whether our illegitimate government stands or falls or what. And so all of these things, this is all just complete nonsense.
I wonder how the people there feel.
Well, there were some people celebrating for sure.
I saw that, but then also some of those celebrations were happening in different countries and stuff like that, so you don't know exactly what was going on. One of them was also from a soccer game, after a soccer game in the streets, so you don't know some of exactly what's happening.
And that also doesn't mean it's going to lead to something that they'll be celebrating. I mean, look,
this could be a nightmare for them.
Saddam Hussein was a Sunni, a Ba'athist party, right? The Sunnis are like 20% of the Iraqi population, and I think 60% are Shiites. Definitely like there's a super majority of Shiites in the country. And so when Saddam first got toppled, a lot of people were celebrating. So a lot of them were Shiites who had been brutally oppressed by Saddam Hussein. So they're celebrating. But they didn't know that they were about to enter into the most brutal civil war where just hundreds of thousands of people were going to get killed. Again, I'm not saying because it happened that way in Iraq, that means it's going to happen that way in Venezuela. But the idea that the people are celebrating day one, like, okay, yeah, look, Maduro was not a good guy. And he was a socialist dictator. So like, okay, fine. There's people happy he's gone. But that don't mean that what replaces him can't be worse.